Okay. All right, so whoever is in control of starting, we are ready to begin. Good morning, commissioners, staff, guests. I call to order this business meeting of the New York State Community Commission on Reparations Remedies. I'm excited, and we want to thank FPWA and Connected Communities Business Hub for providing us a venue in Manhattan and Rochester, New York, and we appreciate their participation. Also want to thank our staff, Erica Rowe Owens, Jesse Adwar, along with the staff from OGS, Office of General Services, for their support in making this meeting possible. Our gratitude also goes to Governor Hochul, Senator Sanders, Assemblymember Salages, and our Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Speaker Al Hastings, and our legislative partners for their continued support of the Commission's work. Before we proceed, we will begin to conduct a roll call. And so Secretary Tarrant Reed, if you could help us with the roll call, we just want to ensure that we have quorum. And so I'll begin with Dr. Chanel Hawkins, myself, present. Dr. Deborah Jenkins.
Present.
And she is in Manhattan, just for noting of the record. Secretary Linda Tarrant Reed.
Present.
Treasurer Jennifer Jones Austin. Commissioner Larry Daniel Favors.
Present.
Commissioner Dr. Ron Daniels.
Present.
Commissioner Timothy Hogues.
Here.
Commissioner Linda Brown Robinson. And Commissioner Dr. Derek Hamilton. And I know that he is on his way. So, Madam Chair, is a quorum present?
Yes, Madam
Secretary, I'm the chair.
You're the chair.
I'm the chair.
Okay, yes, Madam Chair, a quorum is present.
Thank you. With quorum established, we will proceed. The next order of business is to review the minutes from August 1st. We will not be accepting the minutes, but if there are any feedback that we want, that the commissioners would like to make, you can do so via email, or if you have any concerns about the minutes, but we will accept the minutes at the next business meeting. But they have been on the website, just for the sake of all of those that are watching, they have been on the website since August. Commissioners, any questions? Thank you. I'm going to move on to old business. And at our last session, the vice chair vote was an area of discussion. We talked about that we had 5 affirmative votes, and we wanted to meet the requirements under general construction law. And per council, intracameral votes, and those are internal officer elections, may proceed by majority votes cast. Therefore, we've learned that no further action is required. And so I'm going to read the clarification from Darren DeRosa, and he is counsel from OGS. You all have that. It is labeled OGS response, vice chair election compliance. And the general construction law, section 41, requires a majority vote of the commission's whole number to constitute a quorum, which is necessary to hold a meeting. That statute further requires a majority of the commission to vote affirmatively in order to pass a motion or resolution. 5 affirmative votes. What is less clear if the commission can change that requirement, for example, only to require votes of a majority of the commission's president. We believe that since the requirements of the general construction law are a New York State statute, that voting requirement could only be overcome with another state statute or charter law passed pursuant to the municipal home rule law. So, for example, the legislation creating the commission could have including a different number of affirmative votes needed. Since it did not, we believe that the commission must have 5 affirmative votes to pass a motion or resolution. There is some authority that only with respect to the commission electing officers, that less than 5 votes could elect an officer, such as the vice chair or secretary. If a method such as a ballot method was used, whether the commissioner receiving the most votes could be elected to the position. That case that's being referred to is Morris et al. Versus Cashmore et al. 253-80-657. And it's affirmed by the Court of Appeals, 278 New York, 730, and that was from 1938. That case was about several matters involving New York City Council. The relevant holding was, we hold that Section 41 of the General Construction Law.
No. Oh, no movement.
No movement. Sorry, we're in the dark for a second. The relevant holding was, we hold that Section 41 of the General Construction Law does not limit the right of the City Council to act by a majority of a quorum in those intracameral matters with which we are concerned. The matter at issue was the election of a vice chairman of the City Council, and the court found that a resolution which requires affirmative vote of a majority of the entire council was not required. That an election by balloting, permitting a choice from among several nominees, was normal, so that where a balloting method is used, the member receiving the most votes can be elected if a majority of the council agrees to that method. So with that, we learned from General Counsel that the vote that we had in a few months ago, and I think that was in August, that we were okay with the vote for the vice chair and that we did not need to do another vote. So I want to pause there to see if there are any questions before I move to the next order of business.
So Madam Chair, that was in 2024 vote.
In 2024, thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Daniel Favors. When I read through the description and speaking out of a desire to ensure we are protecting the integrity of this body and so that it cannot come under attack, I was a little concerned about the language about the type of vote that was taken in the case reference from 1938. It focused a lot on balloting measures. And I wondered if we'd had any opinion from OGS as to whether or not our lack of a ballot use in that election. And actually, quite frankly, I don't recall if we used a ballot or not, but I could not remember us having a ballot process.
It was not a ballot.
It was not a ballot. I'm hearing from fellow commissioners, it was not a ballot. And I'm wondering if OGS opined as to whether or not the format that we use, because the language of the court's opinion was so focused on the measure that was used for that vote, is there anything we need to do in terms of corrective measures?
No. And so I asked that very question and they said that it was appropriate. Good question.
Thank you. I just want to make that clear for the record.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So is there action that we need to take?
There
or
is
just
no
accepting?
action.
Okay.
There is no action. And so just wanted to confirm that there is no action necessary. We did what was appropriate. So thank you all, commissioners.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move to video conferencing and resolution. And so you have before you the video conferencing resolution, which outlines procedures for participating under extraordinary circumstances as per Public Officers Law, Section 103A. And so I'm asking for a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make a motion.
A motion has been made.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Say on the question.
I'm sorry, any concerns, any questions? Sorry. We can stay at this. Thank you.
So hearing none.
So hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye, abstain, sorry.
Okay, with one abstention, the motion, and that is Commissioner Linda Tam, is that Commissioner Daniel Favors? Thank you.
Motion passed.
Motion carries. Okay, next we will go to the adoption of the public hearing policy. And so actually it's in your, it says for the record, you will have, it says public comment policy. So this was revised in August 27, 24. And this, we've added that the policy ensures orderly and equitable public participation consistent with the open meeting law. And so I hope you all had an opportunity to review it. And with that, may I have a motion to adopt the policy?
I'll make a motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to raise just for clarity and understanding what we're trying to achieve. Because I think there's a question of not only the sort of the point, I think the point, one of the points that we were concerned about is the conduct of speakers and their ability to behavior being disqualifying in terms of some of the actions that we've seen happen in some of the hearings. But I also think that I thought there was a question of repetitiveness, whether or not there ought to be some language or some provision that having spoken 3 times or at a particular hearing, I mean, how many times should people, I mean, I think that was one of the issues that also needed to be addressed. Now, I have no problem with this per se, but I still think there's an issue that we need to deal with in terms of how we move forward with our hearings, because we have had a scenario where we have a kind of redundancy and repetitiveness in terms of the same people and persons coming and speaking over and over again. And my concern is that there are other voices, and that if that same point has been registered, ought not there be a provision that it is duly registered, and therefore the necessity for a current continuing occurrence of it is becomes unnecessary. So while I have no difficulty with this particular provision, I still think there's an issue in terms of the conduct of that needs to be discussed.
So thank you, Dr. Daniels, for that. And so I think, so when you talked about the conduct of individuals providing public comment, I think that's taken care of in general provisions. In the meeting decorum, commissioners reserve the right to remove individuals who disrupt the meeting or fail to adhere to this policy. So I think that takes care of that, but I would be interested in hearing what you believe might be a solution to the redundancy. And I know sometimes we've come up on it where we've run out of time. And so are you suggesting that those individuals be put at the back of the list or not be given the opportunity to provide comments again, or what?
No, what I'm saying is I'll use myself as a case in point. So Dr. Ron Daniels comes to hearing number 1 and states, my position is ABC. I show up at the next hearing and say, my position is ABC. I step up to the next hearing and my position is ABC. And then there are others who come and say, my position is ABC. And I'm saying that there ought to be a way in which the commission recognizes that from Dr. Ron Daniels or the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, we have recorded your perspective. It is duly noted. And so therefore we make space for others. And to some degree, we are limiting the ability of other voices because we're hearing the same, in some instances, the same voices over and over again. So that's what I'm attempting to address. I mean, there's a disruptiveness we obviously feel is disqualifying in terms of at least people not being able to speak or being asked to leave the meeting. But we've also had instances in which, again, the same voices are often heard over and over again. And I'm just saying that having, let me just speak frankly. I mean, I've been working in movements for many, many, many years. So sometimes there's a perception that if you line up and then you say the same thing over and over again, that somehow this really represents a broad perspective in the community, where that may not be true or not. Setting that aside, the point is, after you have heard a particular position coming from a particular set of people, we ought to have a way of saying duly noted.
What's that? Do you have a number? Are we saying 2 times, or? Because I understand and I agree with making sure that other individuals have that space. And like I said, we have run short on time, and the same individuals have presented their case time and time again, which took away from time from new opportunities for public comment. So with you bringing this up, I'm just wondering, as we can look to make a amendment to this, do you have in mind like the specific number of times that we would say, okay, we got it, and now you're no longer able to provide public comment if it's the same?
Can I just make a comment? Under conduct, I think some of your concerns are answered. Comments should focus on issues within the commission's scope and relative to the meeting agenda. I know that doesn't limit people, and I don't think we can limit. The point of the public hearings is to allow people to make comments. And as far as, restraining or, making people go to the back of the line, I don't think that we can do that at the commission.
Would it be possible to consider a framework where if you've spoken at previous hearings, then priority would go to those who are appearing before the commission for the first time, and then those who have previously spoken would be able to, because this way everyone gets to speak, but we also get to ensure that those who have not been able to speak at previous hearing, because we have some folks who go every hearing, they're there and they say the exact same thing, and it's great to have that level of community engagement. But it does very much preclude other people who are not perhaps a part of those more formal institutions from being able to speak. Is there a capacity for us to prioritize the voices of those who have not previously testified so that we can allow for new voices and then allow for previous testifiers to, again, take the mic?
We do have that authority.
Yeah, we could do that with the staff that we have when they're checking in. If they've spoken already, they would understand that they would not be first, that those people that are new voices, we could prioritize them and then make room for others afterwards.
But yeah, we do have that authority.
Commissioner Hope, I agree with what Commissioner Daniel Favors suggested. I think that's a perfect idea. The reality is, as you said, these are committed community members. We want to be very, very careful how we treat the community. I understand the redundancy, but I've also, like you all have been through all of the hearings and have heard them, there are some nuances that they come with. It could, using Dr. Daniels' example, Dr. Daniels, you just simply do not ABC it every time. You just don't, because you have a plethora of information to share. So you may begin at ABC, but the next time we hear Dr. Daniels, he may pick up at C, but also add D and E. And I don't think we want to stifle their opportunity, even though maybe redundant, to do the ABC or add on the next time, because what I'm noticing is that they are paying attention to the themes and what we're discussing, and they are coming to add to those with their initial ABCs. I just want to be careful how we treat the public, but I definitely could support what Commissioner Daniel Favors suggested. And they would have to be comfortable with that because they have been here, and allow other voices. We want to hear from everyone. But not to exclude anyone. I want to be really careful.
And
So I think what we just shared is just what you said, Vice Chair, that it's not excluding them, but it's also it's prioritizing the people we haven't heard from first. And so we can begin there and then make room for them. So we won't exclude them, but they'll just have to wait later. Is everybody in agreement with that?
I just want to add, I think it's really important for when we create the agenda for the meeting, that the theme is really put forth so that people understand that is what we're talking about. If you have other things to add that support this theme, we'd love to hear it. So it's really up to the commission to really create the narrative, or at least the chapters of the narrative that we need to put out there. And that is how we're going to get the information we need for our final report.
So Commissioner, I appreciate that, but so if you look at it from, as Dr. Jenkins was talking about, respect for the public that show up, public may not have been able to show up at a public hearing where the topic that they want to discuss or make comment on, they just may not have been available. And so I think we have to be able to allow the public to express themselves. And you and I have learned a lot about in this past couple of weeks about our penetration or our lack of penetration into and across New York State. And so as individuals continue to hear about the work of the commission and hear about public hearings, I think we have to be able to give them that space to say what they need to say and capture it on the record.
And to your point, Commissioner Hogue, I think that if we put the theme at the table, the reception table, put information there, so when people come in to the meeting, they know what the theme is. And yes, we are shoring up our public information campaign because as we heard over the last month or so, a lot of information has not been shared with the community. So we have a new push to get that information out to various publics before each meeting and in between the meetings.
I happen to agree with the perspective that, and I've said this and sharing, having had some experience with this, as many of you had, because the National African American Reparations Commission, we have done these kind of hearings around the country. And so I don't really want to restrain that part of it because people respond and sometimes they don't respond to the particular theme. They just want to have something to say.
Right.
Right.
And I don't really have a problem with that. I think that's the fact that they showed up and they wanted to be there, I think is healthy. So that's not what I'm addressing. So the way in which we're addressing the issue, I think is a possible solution. But I will cite, I can cite, for example, the American Civil Liberties Union has come to almost every hearing. And every time they come, they don't do A, B, C.
Right.
They always have a different and they almost always address the theme at hand. So that is, it seems to me, how we need to move. So if people come with A, B, C, and they do have D, we need to say, would you please do D?
So is everyone in agreement? So first of all, there are a couple of things that we're saying. And so I think that we need to add and have some clarity. Are we all in agreement that we want to make sure that we make room for new speakers first and give everyone an opportunity to, and we're not going to stifle anyone. We're going to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak, but prioritize new speakers. Are we all in agreement there?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to ask our parliamentarian. We're not all in agreement.
In agreement, I literally offered it, but I just, as you're talking, it occurred to me that as it pertains to staffing capacity, simply asking, have you spoken previously, that doesn't necessarily ensure a safeguard. Would we have the capacity for staff to look at previous lists, such as they're not just the handwritten list, but they're compiled in some sort of, digital capacity where we could control F just to confirm. And I just want to make sure that we have the staffing capacity in place to be able to support this effort, which I suggested. So I'm in agreement.
I think that we can have the staff work out the logistics to make that happen. I think that's certainly something that we can do. So I want to ask our parliamentarian if that's something that we can do, even if we wanted to accept this motion, could we accept the motion with the caveat that we will be adding a prioritization of voices that are new and people that have spoken before would be asked to go towards the end?
That's an operational addition. I think that would make sense.
Okay. So before we accept that, I would just want to acknowledge that we have Commissioner Dr. Hamilton is here. And so we just want to give him an opportunity to acknowledge that he is here and add him to the check-in for roll call. We didn't do any introductions. Commissioner, we just did a roll call. So present.
Present. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so with that, are we ready to take a motion on this public comment policy?
No.
No. Okay.
I have another, because there's some language here in the second page that seems comment language, and I don't know if that is settled. It's highlighted at the top of the second page. I would be uncomfortable adopting this with this particular provision still seemingly uncertain. I would also circle back to something, I believe it was Commissioner Tarrant Reed that you said earlier, that the provision in section 4 on conduct does speak to some of Commissioner Daniels' concerns. And in the subsection, I guess this would be section 4, subpart B. It's not lettered, it's bulleted, but comments should focus on issues within the commission's scope and relevant to the agenda meeting. One of the items that is repeatedly introduced during the sessions where we have had people who are often showing up at the hearings is an idea of desiring to change the legislation.
Yes.
That is outside the scope. Are we able to put any limits on those sorts of comments, because they do take up an inordinate amount of time? And if it's nothing within the scope of what we can do, query whether we should be entertaining 50% of testimony talking about something that is wholly outside the scope of the commission's capacity.
Yeah. I think we have to do that. We certainly have to let folks know and remind them that that is outside of our scope. And I think we can ask them to stop. And if they have testimony relevant to the scope of the work of the commission, then they should proceed. And if not, we can ask them to stop. And so if we want to clarify that and remind them in here, the scope, or even say that if it's outside of the scope, the testimony will be paused and ask that you come on, get on topic for the remainder of the testimony. So we can, if you all want to accept that, if you want to go back and continue to massage that, we certainly can. But we've been working on this since last year. And so we need to get this solidified so that we can get this posted and adhere to it. Especially because we have a public hearing on October 28th.
Correct.
So do you all want to take the time just to resolve this right now? Can we just do that so that we can have this up and approved and prepared to act out on our October 28th meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Daniel Favor, can you offer the language that should be inserted there, something?
Honestly, I don't know that any language needs to be inserted.
We're
I think
just
if
gonna
we
know it.
enforce this provision, I think as written,
agree
it
with
covers
that.
the intention. I don't even know that we need additional language. My only concern about uncertain language was with regards to the highlight as it pertains to the capacity to respond to commentary, which has happened on occasion. So I just wasn't certain about that particular intentionality. But beyond that, I think the language as currently provided stands and provides sufficient cover.
Okay.
And so I did have a question about the highlighted area. And I think it's appropriate when we have in the past made clarifying comments or statements to make sure that we were level setting for the session.
Yes.
As far as us going back and forth on an opinion, I think that may be inappropriate for us to do at a public hearing, but to state to make sure we're stating facts, I think that's appropriate to make sure that everyone is understanding and not misled down the wrong path.
So if we go on the page in front of that, it says the commissioners may at its discretion provide brief responses to public comments during the meeting. So it gives us a may. Extended discussion or actions related to public comments may be deferred to at a later time or a future meeting. And so I'll give an example of when someone said that the commissioners are being paid a lot of money. My response was not to, just to make sure it was clear that the commissioners are volunteers and that we are not paid, just to clarify that right then and there so that doesn't continue on. But other than that, we shouldn't probably be going back and forth. And so here, I think we clarify that and we can move the highlights comments here that were here. I think this is from Linda Tarrant Reed.
Yes. Correct.
So we're removing the highlighted section?
And it was really just a query.
Oh,
And for
okay, all right. So
Because in public hearings that, other than the commission, the dais people do not respond to the testimony. They just listen. They're not even supposed to answer questions, the commissioners. So that was what I needed clarification on. So I think—
You mean in terms of the public comment?
Right, I'm saying when we have testimony from the public and we as commissioners are sitting, listening, We're not supposed to be entertaining a conversation with them or even responding to their comments. That is my understanding. Maybe Stuart, the parliamentarian, can clarify that for us.
That's an operational question.
We've lost the feed from Rochester.
No, I think it's legal.
We can decide that. That's an operational question. That has nothing to, that's not a. And the reason I'm asking that question is there's a distinction between going back and forth with people in the public comment and those, when you say testimony, we do have panels that come and they present.
Right.
If I may, I'm not certain. I just wanted to preserve comment for when we were on, so that just because we weren't. You may want to.
Can you all hear us?
Yeah, we can.
So we can.
Anyway,
So are we ready to move forward?
We were trying to get clarity on the
Back and forth.
Highlighted part.
on the highlighted part.
Response to comments, that section 5.
And I was simply clarifying that we were talking about comments as it related to in the public comment section. I just wanted to be, because she used the term testimony, and I just wanted to be sure we were not speaking more expansively beyond that. That's all. So I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to make a motion?
So move to adopt.
It has been moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded.
And
Any,
so I do want to make the clarification. We're moving the item that has been amended with our prior discussion as of prioritizing the new voices, the new testimony. Correct?
yes.
I just wanted to make clear on that motion that you made.
So we will add that statement.
I'm sorry, what are you
Commissioner
adding?
Daniel Favors?
No, my understanding was that we were going to use the existing language in section 4 under conduct, the second bullet, which states comments should focus on issues within the commission's scope and relevant to the meeting agenda. That would allow us to avoid having 5011 requests for us to change the legislation, which we are not legally authorized to do. But the subsequent issue was with relation to the query on the second page about the format for which we are using to interact with the public when they're in the midst of testimony. And it was to clarify that it's not going to be a substantive back and forth. Well, I said, and then you said, and then I said, and then you said, but really a clarification only, Madam Chair, as the example that you gave, which I had appreciated in the moment. So thank you for that. But I'm not clear as to what the amendment would be.
So the amendment is prioritizing new voices. That the new
The original
voices
conversation.
original conversation would be first, and then if you're repeating testimony or public comment, it would go towards the end. But we would prioritize new voices, and we would have our staff help to work the logistics out on that.
And we need a motion to add the amendment to the.
We need a motion well, we're going to make a new motion. We're adding the amendment. So if we want to just start again, so we have some clarity on that.
So I guess, Stuart, how would
You should accept the amendment first and then vote on
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So I make a motion to amend the public comment policy to include the prioritization of new speakers or speakers that haven't spoke before in front of the commission.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It has been unanimously passed.
No.
Now,
You make it.
can we get a motion to accept the
moved.
public? Thank you.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It has been unanimously carried. All right. Thank you all. And so next, as discussed, we've had some previous dialogue about adopting the United Nations definition of reparations as our foundational framework. And so we have shared in our last meeting in August, there was a resolution that was shared. There was a new one submitted, and I think it was drafted by Commissioner Linda Tarrant-Reed. And there was also some communication from Commissioner Ron Daniels about adopting the reparations definition by the United Nations. And so I wanted to see if we are ready to adopt the United Nations definition of reparations, or if we'd like to have some more discussion about that.
Well, I wanted to have some more discussion about it only in that, and forgive me if my battle-weary mind did not see all the particulars of it. But it seems to me that we are indeed wanting to adopt a definition. And in reading through the materials, the UN resolution, the 5 areas of restitution and redress is clearly outlined, and I clearly support that. But in the last hearing, or one of the hearings, there was a question raised is, what is the definition of reparations? And there was no response because we have not adopted one. There is a reference here to in COBRA in terms of its definition. So what I simply did was add in COBRA's definition so that the idea is to have a working definition. And so that was the purpose of my adding some thoughts in that regard. And so that was the part that seemed to be that was missing. We ought to be able to respond if we're asked, what is the definition of reparations? We can say A, B, C.
So you were just, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And just for the record, Commissioner Daniels, is it your understanding that the COBRA definition is in alignment with the definition, the working definition employed currently by the United Nations?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
And so I don't disagree with what Dr. Daniel said, nor the question that Commissioner Daniel Favors just asked for clarity. I'm just thinking, I thought that in one of our discussions, we were going to settle on the UN's framework and then work on the definition. Now, I'm not saying that what you added, Dr. Daniels, is not relevant, but I thought that was our purpose today. Can you clarify for us, Chair?
That is what we said. We said that it would be our foundational framework and that we will begin to work on it. So that's what the last resolution had, that we were working on this as a foundational framework, just so that we had something as a starting point, and as commissioners, we will work through this and enhance it. And certainly with our work that we're doing with our report, we will have a definition, a full definition of who gets reparations, how we see reparations on behalf of this commission, our recommendations for reparations. And so, but we needed to have some foundational framework, which we don't have. And so that was the starting point for us.
So just to be clear, so are we saying that the adoption of the UN definition of reparations as a framework for NYSCCRR, that is what we're trying to do today?
Yes. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Because I'm clear. Yeah, we were talking at the same time, but you're asking, we're looking to accept this as our foundational framework as a definition. Yes, exactly.
And then we will continue to work on our definition.
Our definition of
reparations.
I thought the purpose of adopting the existing UN definition of reparations was going to be
its framework.
We're adopting the framework.
And so two things. One, Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify, our report is not going to determine who gets reparations because that is already listed within the legislation, but the form, I just wanted to confirm that.
Thank you.
And then in terms of this, my understanding, and I just need the clarity, if we're adopting the UN definition of reparations as a framework, my understanding, Dr. Daniels, is that you were offering the NCOBRA statement of the definition to supplement that framework. So that gives us a foundation. What additional work with regards to defining what reparations is would we be called upon to do?
I think there needs to be a discussion because we have not really discussed this thoroughly. Is that correct?
Yeah, but let me just offer a perspective that we have a New York State Commission on Reparations, and we're months into the work,
Yes.
and we don't have a definition of reparations. I mean, that's back asswards. We have to have a definition of reparations. It's embarrassing to go before a public and be asked what the definition of reparations is, and we say, well, we'll get back to you. There are iterations of the definition. I just refer to incorporate because, but there is a broadly defined nature of what reparation is. It is repair. It is repair for the, as I outlined, the psychological, physical, and damages inflicted, the injuries on a group of people. And then, you know, you can massage it in different ways. That is the essence of it. That is the core of it. And then I go on to point out that we have to have a definition because otherwise there's confusion about ordinary public policy. There's confusion about equity, all of which are good things, by the way. There's a lot of drive. We've got to have equity. That's good. It's not reparations. Ordinary public policy is not reparations. Well, what is reparations? We have to be able to define that. So to say that we're going to look at this later, the whole purpose of the framework really is to say this is how reparations gets done. But it's from the position of having defined what reparations is. I just offer that as sort of a systematic way of moving forward that, yeah.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dr. Daniels. But not a but. I think when we are discussing reparations, I think the commission is getting confused, and that's where this dialogue thing is. So you are, in my opinion, you are absolutely correct. There, the definition is the definition. I think where we're fumbling is we're talking about how are we going about our work. And so I think that's where commissioners keep talking about we need to sit down and have further discussion. But I think today, with what you have presented, we talked about the framework that we've accepted or that we want to move forward with. And then this, as was stated, is a clarifying definition. And so I am prepared to move forward today, but I would like to hear from other commissioners.
So I would like to weigh in right there. What the public doesn't know is what we have before us. And I think in fidelity to what Dr. Daniels has offered in terms of a definition, we could read it because no one knows what we're talking about right now. Only we know. And, I know we came here to do the framework, and I think that's kudos to us, but I never forget up in the Bronx where the man brought, a former city councilman actually brought a group of young people, brought this young lady to the microphone and asked her, did she know what reparations was? And as we've just been discussing about how we interact with them, and we didn't offer a definition to her.
Right.
And so I think we need to actually at least share with the public what we have before us.
Perhaps we can just read it on the record.
That's what I'm asking. Can we read it on the record and then discuss? We have to do something.
We have.
Yes.
And the other thing that I'm suggesting is that if Dr. Daniels' comments, definition in the UN framework are all part of the Commission's reparations definition, then we should draft it as one document, not as two separate, and Dr. Daniels' information is in an email. I think we have to formalize this.
So this is, again, we shouldn't, thank you, Commissioner Tarrant Reed. My hope is that we don't leave this meeting today without having something that we will accept. And so if we want to take the time to massage this and come up with a statement that we believe is going to the next time, to Vice Chair Jenkins's point, the next time a student or anyone asks us, what is our definition for reparations, we could answer that on behalf of the commission. And we did not because we had not had this conversation.
Absolutely. I think Commissioner Hamilton had a comment.
Right.
So the risk is that we bind ourselves. So framework versus definition, guidelines, understandings. At the end of the day, we have to settle on something. But what we might settle on at the end might not be the same thing we're at this point. Like, for example, there's a nuance I would offer in addition to psychological harm. I would add the material harm as part of the definition. But, you know, it might be something else. So that's my little cautionary tale, that if we get the concern that we are held and accounted to something that is immutable, and we want to change it a little later.
Commissioner, may I add to your point that accepting this as a framework gives us something that provides a looseness, because when we have our report, we will define reparations on behalf of the commission. We'll have all the data that will help us to define that. And so this just gives us that foundational work to begin to work from. So that's my only hope. I agree that we should not have anything clearly defined now, because we don't have our research and we haven't done that. And so I hope that we can just use this as a foundational framework for us to begin, and that we can begin to have those conversations if we're all in agreement there.
So for clarity, if another young person or an older person actually comes to one of our hearings next time, what are we going to say to them? Are we going to say that we as a body, a commission, has adopted the UN's definition as a framework? Is that what we're going to, and I'm not being facetious, I'm just wondering, we still have to have something to say. What are we going to say?
I believe that this is what we're massaging right now. And so we have the UN's definition. We had a resolution and we posted it for the 7-3 meeting, the UN definition for, and I don't know if you all have that printed in front of you, but we have that. And so that resolution, we can accept that, or we can take the time right now and massage what that statement could look like, and then we could prepare that. And so the next time we're asked that, we can answer that. And so what Dr. Daniels had shared with us, if someone over there wants to read it, we can read that. And so, and we have everyone here, we could wordsmith that and at least have this framework of what we believe reparations is. If not, we're going to leave this meeting today without having adopted a framework.
Madam Chair, if I'm following correctly, adopting the framework is not the same thing as a definition.
Correct.
So we can adopt the framework.
Correct.
And then solidify the definition. To Commissioner Jenkins' point, the definition that was provided by Commissioner Daniels, and if I may just read it on the record for clarity's sake, which I think will help resolve this. Reparations means repair of the physical, cultural, psychological, mental destruction, injury / harm of a people, including their identity. He then goes on to include that in COBRA's definition is as follows. Reparations is the process of repairing, healing, and restoring a people who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by a government, corporations, institutions, or individuals. And so those are the two statements of definition that have been suggested that we're working with. But, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we could have a motion and a vote to adopt the UN's definition as a framework. And then we could have a subsequent motion, perhaps, that would allow us to use the definition that was provided by Commissioner Daniels as a working definition, right, which does not bind us, but would, because to your point, where we at today ain't gonna be where we at in a couple months, would not bind us, but would allow us the flexibility of having a statement. We can put on a t-shirt if we wanted to, and declare how we are defining reparations as a working definition while we have adopted the framework as provided by the United Nations.
That would be excellent if we could do that today.
I agree. I think that's perfect because we have two separate issues, which is what I said originally. I think Dr. Daniels' definition, which is not your definition, but is a wonderful foundation, and that we as a commission could share that and share our comments and whatever edits and suggestions we might have for our definition.
I'm supportive of everything. Also, the only word I would add to Dr. Daniels' definition is after psychological, mental. or material.
Okay.
So is the definition and I think you guys got a colored copy, is the definition in red? Or are you talking about his comments leading up to the definition?
I would
And so I will
say-
ask,
I'm
I will
sorry.
ask Dr. Daniels for
Okay.
clarification. So in the red, is the red part of your email that was just read, is that the definition, or are you including that full paragraph portion as trying to say the definition, Dr. Daniels?
I use it could be both, and it could be either or both. Actually, they're interrelated. They're interconnected. There are two ways of saying the same thing, actually. But since somewhere in my reading I saw a reference to NCOBRA, then I use the NCOBRA definition. Why? Because NCOBRA is the legacy organization that has been advocating for reparations and for the last period of time. And so I thought it was appropriate that is because I think it's also important to have some historical continuity, some historical framework. So that's why I then went back to referred to the NCOBRA definition. But the essence in general, let me just finish the thought. The essence of reparations, almost from anyone who's been working on this for any period of time, is very simple. It is the process of repair. And the repair is in several areas. Material can be added to it. To me, physical and material, we can discuss that, but it's all synonymous in some ways. So that's the thing, it's getting the essence of what it is that we're able to transmit and communicate to the community. And it's not something that we can reinvent and recreate. There is a definition.
So can I ask that while we're here and we're getting closer, so thank you, commissioners, for your work, that I see Commissioner Daniel Favors working. It looks like she's writing some of the words down. So if we can get that massaged, if we can take the next 5 to 10 minutes to get that massaged so we can read exactly what we are going to adopt and we can adopt it.
And so, Chair, I just want to say that so with Dr. Daniels' clarification, I appreciate Dr. Hamilton's comment and addition. So I just wanted to clarify that
I go with
what we were considering. So.
Yes, I can go with that.
And if I can, while Commissioner Daniel Favors is trying to work out the wording, the rewording, I'm a little cautious about using an organization's definition. Your organization is also one of import, right? And that might be the framework, the definition that your organization has been working with and many organizations, but we do need that distinction, even if it's just and not to minimize it, what Dr. Hamilton said, we need our own definition that could definitely grow out of NCOBRA's, but it has to be independent of NCOBRA. For one reason, they're not represented here, and they should know that this is a movement towards using what they've already established. I'm not sure how that really works in the global sense, but I'm just a little cautious about using theirs. And so with Dr. Hamilton adding that we want to insert the material, and as you said, Commissioner Daniel Favors, it can be a moving fluid type of definition, but we just need to begin somewhere. I like the writing, the black print rather than the red print, just because they're not represented. Am I making sense?
So remember, we're not adopting their definition. I just want to be clear that we're not adopting their definition. We're adopting a framework for us to build upon. And so remember, when the commission provides its report, we will have our definition that it will come from New York State's Commission on Reparation Remedies. But this is our adoption, so this doesn't bind us at all. This is our working point.
Point of clarification. We cannot confuse the definition of a reparation with the forms.
Right.
That's a distinctive thing, Madam
Right.
Chair. We are not going to change the definition of reparation.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so that what we're going to do, what this commission will
So that's why I
decide
said the red.
in reviewing all of the material is, will it be direct payments and community benefits? Will it be public
Forms.
policy?
Forms.
The forms. And one of the things that the framework does is give a sense of the kinds of ways that can be done. So there's non-repetition non-repetition, compensation, so forth, and redress. It helps us to understand that, but we need to be a little bit more precise in terms of our language, in terms of what we're talking about. We're not changing the definition of reparations. And so however people want to see that and whatever and so forth and so on is fine. I mean, but there is a broadly recognized definition of reparations. And COBRA is just one way of stating it. The core of it is what I put in the red language, because that is the core of in that language. And I've worked on this for half a century. And I am from an organization that sees itself as having assembled voices for this purpose. And so that is important in that regard. Now, I don't want to sort of say, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And so derivatives from that, there are different ways in which that can be material additions to it, but you don't change the foundation of it. That's what I'm arguing.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I think we're all in consensus of a foundational definition, a working definition.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think there's a recognition that rather than tie our hands at this point, we leave open the possibility that things may iterate. I appreciate Dr. Jenkins's point about organizations and tie-in, but there's also the other thing to think about. There's elegance in historical legacy as well.
Correct.
There's some elegance in building, right? The UN itself is an organization that we're using because of its legitimacy.
Right.
So we could, as a commission, make a decision that in COBRA, because of its long history and work and legacy, is something that, again, we acknowledge, not necessarily tie ourselves to, or we could also see the risk of tying to an organization and choose just not to tie ourselves to an organization. But my personal sentiment is I see an elegance in a legacy Black organization.
If I may offer the following suggestive language for us to just have a basis to work on, drawing from the text which was provided and which was previously read on the record, I would suggest the following. Reparations means repair of the physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, physical destruction, injury, and harm of a people, including their identity. It includes a process of, coming down to the red text, includes a process of repairing, healing, and restoring a people who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by government, corporations, institutions, or individuals. I would say by governments, plural, corporations, institutions, plural, or individuals, plural. That I would offer gives us the capacity to have a working definition of reparations. Okay. And if we can agree to that, or some other, if there's other massaging that needs to happen, happy to have.
I like it.
Slight amendment. I just do and/or.
And/or.
Just and/or at the end of your list.
Happy for. I always love a good and/or. So should I read this again so that we're clear on what the motion would be? Okay.
Please.
Reparations means repair of the physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, or physical destruction, injury and or harm of a people, including their identity. It includes a process of repairing, healing, and restoring a people who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by governments, corporations, institutions, or individuals.
One slightly.
Well done.
And I'll stop my comments.
Don't stop.
Right. Authentic account, like some notion of truth. I want to get, if we could get that phrase in there as to the harm that, right? We have a society that distorts the truth, that gets to a position and
that's the truth.
Okay, reparations, we can have an insertion.
Yeah.
Reparations means repair of the authentic physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, and or physical destruction, injury, and or harm of a people, so that the authenticity component is inserted in the first phrase.
Almost. How about reparations is an authentic account and means, so just keep it as two separate phrases. There's the account of what happened, and then there's the redressing of what happened.
Okay, and we can reiterate this on the record.
Reparations is not an account.
Well, it's not only an account, but it includes an account.
It would only be an account if we are able to achieve the reparations, right?
I think it's both. I think you acknowledge and you redress. So the.
Can we say reparations acknowledges the account? Can we
It's
add?
an authentic account or an acknowledgement if we prefer acknowledgement.
I think,
Yeah.
And then it's,
Acknowledgement sounds.
all right, an authentic acknowledgement, because
Yep.
I think the word authentic, again, because right now we distort our history intentionally.
We rolling with you, bro.
Yeah.
We rolling.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah. This is good.
This is collective wisdom.
Okay, reparations.
I love how our commission's
Ujima.
get some trust in here.
Okay, so if I may, iteration 3, 4 or 5 or whatever. Reparations is an authentic acknowledgement. The
You
next,
could take authentic out, I'm sorry.
no, it's not that. It's the transition from that to the remainder of the,
And.
and
Yeah.
okay, thank you. See,
Yeah.
collect together, we gonna make it far. Okay, here we go. I would offer the following language. Reparations is the authentic acknowledgement and means repair of the physical, I'm sorry, my apologies. Reparations is an authentic acknowledgement of, that's still off. I'm sorry, y'all. That language is still not quite
Okay.
right.
This is our working session for this.
I think it should say
An authentic
reparations is an authentic acknowledgement
And redress,
of the harm,
of the harm. Mhm.
and then add and redress before that. Yep.
And means,
I'm gonna,
Redress and
hold
repair.
up.
it's just a draft.
I know,
Let's
I know,
let's make it
but I'm
work.
holding up on. The emphasis ought not to be on authenticity and acknowledgement. The acknowledgements are part of the process. To me, we should, the first thing coming out should be repair. That's, reparations is repair. Work with me now.
I hear you, but I don't necessarily completely agree. I think it's both. I think if you don't have them both of them are limited. And if you have the.
But I'm talking about emphasis. I'm not talking about whether, I'm saying, if you were to emphasize what is the essence of reparations, it is repair, because here's what typically happens. What we typically have said over the years. So how does it work? You acknowledge, you apologize, repair. But you make the acknowledgement having that you've injured someone, right? So the injury becomes the most important thing. So I'm just saying in terms of the thing, and we can roll with it, but I'm just saying it seems to me that if we're talking to people, it is repair. If you're popularly talking to people, you say reparations means repair.
Mhm.
See, the part about acknowledgement gets underplayed as well. I completely agree. There's no dissension in the commission that it can't just be acknowledgement. I think we all agree that if you don't have remedy, it's weak. But I don't want to de-emphasize the acknowledgement. I believe that right now we see attempts to distort and destroy our history with a purpose. And that in and of itself has an impact on what we do going forward.
Yeah,
I
so-
think the acknowledgement is a critical component to redress what happens next. The repair repairs what happened. So both are necessary. That's
So we're only debating which goes first. I'm saying repair and acknowledge, and you're saying
okay,
acknowledge.
fine. I'm good with yours.
So I want to remind the commissioners that this is just our framework. So we can address this later and
No, we
change
got
it and massage. Okay.
But
We can massage it.
I'm going to support authentic still being in there because
I
that
agree.
really
I agree with that.
speaks, because
I-
otherwise it's like,
I
oh, we're
agree.
sorry,
I
you know.
agree with that.
So I
We're
get
not
that.
saying agree.
That's not it
I
either,
agree.
right?
No, I
Okay.
agree with that.
acknowledgement or repair.
How about,
Okay.
let's see if we can make this work.
Iteration 5.
Iteration 5. Reparations is a process that authentically acknowledges and repairs the physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, and or physical destruction, injury, and or harm of a people, including their identity. Its processes include repairing, healing, and restoring a people who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by governments, corporations, institutions, or individuals.
And if I'm channeling Dr. Daniels, I think he would rather have redress before acknowledgement. which
I'm cool.
fine
I
with.
could, that
I
could
would
work.
just say repair, but I'm doing it, I yield.
That authentically, this is not, there are many things about which we must have great debates. This does not have to be one of them. Reparations is a process that authentically repairs and acknowledges the physical and then the remaining definition. So I don't have to make it a version 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank y'all. I just had to write it down. All right.
We actually did something.
So for the record, Commissioner Daniel Favors, for the record,
Yeah,
just so, because you went through and you clarified again. So can we just have one clean reading so that we can capture this in the transcript and we are clear about our framework?
reparations is a process that authentically repairs and acknowledges the physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, and/or physical destruction, injury, and/or harm of a people, including their identity. It includes processes of repairing, healing, and restoring a people who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by governments, corporations, institutions, and/or individuals.
I got one slight other amendment. And I think it will make it better. I do. I think it'll just,
This is wordsmithing.
because I
This
think
is how
we're
it
getting
goes.
it right. The only part is not only a people, a society. That's the only part. This ain't just about Black people. It leads to society being better off.
In society. I have no issues with that.
Where were you inserting that?
After restoring a people. I'll read it again.
Well,
because
no,
six-
I'll tell you
six
where.
is my favorite number.
By governments. Where were you? Let me see.
Oh, that last
People here?
line. Like
A people and.
No,
society.
no,
What did
it was
it
a
say?
part where,
Society.
let me see your thing. I think I'll find it.
Yep.
Real quick.
So while we're doing that, our parliamentarians, so are there two actions we're taking? We're taking the UN framework action, and then we're taking the definition action?
It's two.
It's two actions. I mean, two, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
two.
It's
I think
two.
we got.
I think it's two, right?
Says.
Yes.
The working definition and
And
the
yeah.
framework.
UN.
And the
Okay,
fr- yeah.
so that's two different,
That's
that's
two.
two different
Yes.
actions, right?
Then
Okay.
Integrated into this.
So for a sixth time,
Okay.
any other additions?
Nope.
No, it sounds
Edits or
great.
changes?
Good.
Going once, going
All right.
twice. All right. Sixth
All
time.
right,
is the
Commissioner
charm.
Daniel Favors.
Here we go. Reparations is a process that authentically repairs and acknowledges the physical, cultural, psychological, mental, material, and/or physical destruction, injury, and/or harm of a people and/or society. Okay, including their identity. It includes processes of repairing, healing, and restoring a people and society who were injured due to their group identity in violation of their fundamental human rights by governments, corporations, institutions, and/or individuals.
I make a motion to accept that as our definition.
I second the emotion.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
No.
This was
All
good.
in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Some word.
Any abstentions? The motion has been unanimously carried. So congratulations. Yes, we're almost there, commissioners. So the next, we'll need to make a motion to adopt the framework, the UN framework.
So moved.
No, somebody has to make.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I second.
The motion has already been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion has unanimously been carried. With that, commissioners, thank you, congratulations, and for doing that work. And now the next time we are asked that question, and we will post this on our website, we will have this prepared. So thank you for your work. We are going to take a 5-minute break, or actually a 7-minute break, and come back at 11:30. So thank you, and if we could stop recording and we can take our 7-minute break. Thank you all, commissioners. See you at 11.
Thank you, Commandante.
Yes.
A minute.
Okay, are we ready? You'll all tell me when we're back.
We're back.
We're
All
back.
back.
We're ready.
We are back. Thank you, commissioners, for working hard, and I'm excited about the next half of our meeting. But before we begin, I want to remind everyone that we are coming together on October 28th for a public hearing in Brooklyn. Remember, the Brooklyn meeting was rescheduled due to rain. And so we are in Brooklyn and we're proud to be at the historic Bethany Baptist Church on Tuesday, October 28th from 4 to 8. And that address is 460 Marcus Garvey Boulevard in Brooklyn, New York. And so we hope to all see you there for an opportunity to provide your public testimony. If you want to learn more about that, you can visit our website at ny.gov/reparations. So the next part of our meeting discussion is to provide a key updates and hiring updates. And so I'll begin with providing updates on our consultants and onboarding, and I'll ask the executive committee to provide some support in this area. So first, I'll begin with the economists. There were 3 candidates under review. Final selection has been made, and we look forward to making that notification soon. For policy analysts, you'll hear more about this later, but they are actively engaged in collaborating with the historian. For the historian, same, they are actively engaged in forming the development of the commission's report. The public education coordinator, that evaluation is underway. And so we look forward to making the selection in the next couple of weeks. General counsel, the candidate evaluation and interviews are in process. And so if there's any of the commissioners that are on that evaluation team that want to provide some support there, they can provide any feedback. And can you guys hear us now? I'm sorry, I saw we went off screen for a second.
You're good.
Yes, we hear you.
Was anything missed? Did you all get everything?
We got everything.
Everything.
Okay, thank you. And then the executive director, the applications have been received and are underway. I'm going to recognize Secretary Linda Tarrant-Reed so that she can provide updates on communications, historian, and then our vice chair will provide updates on the public policy analyst roles.
Thank you, Chair. Communications update. Our contractor is Words Warrior. We have a standing meeting once a week to discuss the marketing and public relations of the commission's work, mainly the public hearings and the business meetings. What they're working on now, because the feedback that we have received is that the information regarding the commission's work has not been reaching the public. So we're doing a concerted effort to expand the list, the communications list, and to make sure that all of the various publics are made aware of all of the meeting dates, the places, the times, and also, directions to make sure that people know how to get to where they have to go. So the communications team, they're in charge of putting together press releases, press alerts. We are also in the process of creating a newsletter to put information out to the public about the commission's work. So I think that we're going to see a wider coverage and more people are going to be able to learn about the commission's work. And the website, we have a website that's pretty interactive, and all of our documents and press releases and resolutions and minutes are uploaded to that site, and it's ny.gov/reparations. Any questions?
I do have a question, and thank you for that update. As it relates to the list that they're compiling, because we have, a part of the criticism has been as far back as Long Island's meeting was poorly planned, right? And the information didn't get shared. So how will they communicate to organizations such as the NAACP? You know, and that was a big deal, right? Because they got the information late, and so that drove down attendance, and that will continue to happen. How will they ensure? Will, like the chair just announced our meeting for next week. Have they done anything to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have a really robust press release, and we did get a response from L. Joy Williams, who is the president of the New York State NAACP. She will be speaking, bringing comments. So, that was really important because as we, as commissioners, travel around to our various engagements, people do come up to us and say, what are you guys doing? I haven't heard anything. So I am also asking the commissioners to provide to me the emails and the names of people, contact people that you guys want to invite, regardless of where the meeting. This is just going to expand our media list. Also, for the government officials that you are in touch with during your regular day, including the government officials who appointed you. So it's very important for us to make sure that all of the information and all of the work that we're doing is, disseminated to the public and to the various organizations. We are compiling a list of organizations and government officials, but we want your list as well. Okay?
So social media being utilized?
Yes, yes.
I have noticed, I think on,
Instagram.
well, no, I know I'm listening on the radio side, WBLS. I think I've heard some announcements.
Once or twice, and that was early on. That's the other thing. Any local radio podcasts that you're familiar with, that
Well,
we're not.
that's why I'm suggesting that, because I think we need to, a lot of people listen to, at least not only, but they listen in general to, and then there's the open line that comes on Sundays.
Right.
There are a lot of activist oriented people in particular who listen to WBAI.
Yes.
And we ought to find a way, they ought to find a way to connect with them.
And that's not hard.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's combining all of these means and getting those messages out there as well. Now, I also think they were going to be working on some op-ed pieces, I understand.
Right.
And I understand that because I'm delinquent. I think they offered one for me and I ain't responded. So I just wanted to add to that. That's an
Okay,
important
so
piece.
with the advertorials, which are paid opinion pieces, they did a general one about the commission and cited the chair as the author. And that's what they're going to be doing. We're going to come to you and for specific themes specific.
Yes.
And it's really about the commission's work.
Right.
It's about what we're doing.
Right.
And we are the stars of those advertorials. And yes, we will get back to you.
Right.
So you will be the second.
It ain't on there. I'm delinquent. I'm a confessing.
No, but we've
publisher that
changed.
I'm
We've
delinquent.
changed. These are,
You changed the format.
we've changed the format, so you're on time.
Okay, all right.
Also,
So commissioners, are you all using your own platforms to share out when we are having meetings? Do you use your platform to let folks know that we are having a public hearing on October 28th?
I do, but I was going to add that Commissioner Daniel Favors has a wildly popular program
That's
on
right.
Sirius FM.
Sure enough.
We've actually had one of her colleagues from the same network, radio network, Dr. Carr. He was up in Harlem. They will mention it, but I believe communications needs to look into advertising on their shows. First of all, it strengthens their shows to have advertisers, but they reach a lot of people. We want them to look into advertising on her show and perhaps Dr. Carr's show. Why am I saying them? Because they keep reparations in the public sphere. They keep this topic out there. And so we don't want to, and you too, Dr. Daniels behind me on the side of me.
him out the public radio.
He mentioned BLS, but
Not his
WBAI is the thing. WBAI is the juggernaut. And also, if they continuously send to the New York, Amsterdam,
Right.
Our Time Press.
it's free.
Our Times is really
Our Time
beautiful
Press,
work
yeah,
now.
they're
Was
doing,
it?
Our
Our
Time
Time.
Press doing some amazing work.
Yeah.
I would
amazing
just
work.
say, Commissioner Jenkins, one, thank you for your very kind words. For the record, I do not receive any compensation for ads placed on my show, because I can already tell somebody, and I have a sense that the public might be concerned. So just for the record, I personally, as a host on that channel, do not receive any funding from ads that are run on that channel. I also would just confess that part of the reason I have in my in my media space not been as prolific with advertising is out of a concern for safety. I have my show, as you noted, it gets a lot of attention. Not everybody likes the things that I say. And I have just been concerned. I'm trying very much now, because of just the way life is, I don't announce where I'm going to be until I've left. So there have been some real safety concerns as to why I have not, and because this is a topic that generates such interest. So that's one of the reasons I have not used my platform in that way. But I do think Our Time Press, Amsterdam News, Caribbean Life, Haitian Times, these are all papers. And Commissioner Tarrant-Reed, I'm happy to send you the communications list that we use at the Center for Law and Social Justice. We're trying to always be in touch with Black media spaces. So I just wanted to offer that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That would be incredibly helpful. We have been in the Amsterdam News, but there needs to be a consistent presence. So, things are changing, our administrative staff has evolved. And I think with all of this, there's a new energy. And even the contractors, Works Warriors, felt that because I streamlined their approval process. There did not seem to be an approval process. And for me, that's very dangerous. Nothing should go out without approval and review and approval. So all of those systems are being put in place. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Tarrant-Reed. I just want to acknowledge that you all were talking about downstate media platforms, and just to acknowledge that we also are using upstate media platforms. So we've used WDKX for radio, the Challenger, and Minority Reporter for print. And so just want to acknowledge those three areas, upstate New York.
Again, I'm suggesting that the upstate commissioners send me their media contacts and their community organization contacts.
Thank you. If you, Commissioner Vice Chair Jenkins, would you please provide an update on the policy analyst?
Oh, yes. So we've sent out, Commissioner Tarrant-Reed sent out to all of the commissioners the drafts. She is being led by Ayanna Platt from PSA. She's doing a phenomenal job. At our last meeting, that meeting was with Commissioner Tarrant-Reed, Dr. Daniels, and myself, Ayanna, and the research lead, Janine. And at that time, I suggested, because everything is somewhat textbookish, we need to bring it alive. And I suggested 3 organizations. You don't see that in the report that Commissioner Tarrant-Reed sent out, but I gave her 3 organizations that I wanted her to be in contact with, because policy is also driven by private organizations. And these one that we've discussed today, ad nauseum, I might say, in Cobra is one I suggested to her. NARC is another, and ADOS. I want her to reach out to them to include their perspectives and the way that the 3 of them, these separate organizations, very much independent of one another, but ultimately we're all doing the same work and we're trying to fight for reparations. I want her to include their narratives, the storytelling, and to get a sense of the legislations they've been supportive of and how it can tie into the broader policy work that she's trying to put together. And so that's the only piece that's missing from the report that you all received, those 3 organizations. And I'm putting it on the record because I want to encourage her to, if she doesn't have their information already, reach out to me to get it and get it in there so it's intertwined into the work, because they've been doing it for a very long time and they all need to be acknowledged, in my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. I'm going to announce you, Linda Tarrant-Reed. So if we could please provide, Commissioner Linda Tarrant-Reed, if you can provide an update on the research historian.
Okay, the research historian is part of the same team, PSA. Policy Studies Association. I think they're out of PC. They are the contractors that we've hired to help assist with the final report. The research historian's role is to create the framework for the final report, meaning, it's like a book. So we have an outline, we have chapter headings, we have the various components, the public hearings, the policy analysis, but the key is that it's history. It's the history of slavery in New York State and the impact of that institution from 1626 to present day. So the canvas is wide and the information is there. And what they've supplied for us so far, after quite a few weeks of really helping them understand what it is we're trying to do, we just sent out to all of the commissioners the overview, the research historians analysis, and the policy analysts documents, the timeline, the subject matter contributors to all of the commissioners. And what we're asking the commissioners to do is please review that material very closely. This is the framework for the final report. We had an 18-month extension. The commission ends in January 2027. The report hopefully will be completed in October of 2026. And I'm talking about there will be numerous drafts. And this is not just going to be, all words. The report is going to have documents, photographs, all kinds of memorabilia, flyers. It's going to be a comprehensive history and the update as to what the impacts have been on Black residents of New York State. I think that's it.
It's exciting.
It is
Very exciting. Thank you for your work. If you would all allow me just to move around on the agenda, because this is tied to the updates. And so I'm going to just speak to commissioner engagement in the subcommittees. And so one of the things that's important is that we as commissioners engage closely with our consultants, and we all have expertise in many areas related to this important work that we are doing. And so right now you heard from Commissioner Tarrant Reed and Commissioner Deborah Jenkins in their engagement with the historians, the communications team, and the policy analysts. And so I'm asking that each commissioner take on some commissioner engagement and act as liaison to our consultants. And so there are several consultants, and I'm going to list those consultants if you would allow me to, and then talk about where we have area and room for each commissioner to decide which group that they would provide, would liaise to. And so first we have the economist subcommittee, and the consultant would be the economist, and that role is vacant, so we need a commissioner for that. We have the policy subcommittee. We already heard that Dr. Deborah Jenkins is serving as the commissioner to liaison, to liaise with that group. The historian subcommittee, you've heard already that it's Linda Tarrant Reed, our secretary. We also have the public education subcommittee, and that consultant will be our education coordinator. That role is vacant, so there's a liaison needed. We have our legal subcommittee, and that's general counsel. There's an opportunity for a commissioner to act as a liaison to that group as well. For the governance subcommittee, we have our parliamentarian, and Linda Tarrant Reed already as our secretary works closely with our parliamentarian, Stuart Mitchell. And our operations coordination and executive director, I act as a liaison to that, to operations. And then communications and outreach, you've already heard that support is provided by Commissioner Linda Tarrant Reed. So there are three opportunities: economist, education coordinator, and general counsel. So I want to put on the floor and ask that our commissioners, to strengthen coordination and accountability, that you volunteer to act as a liaison to a contractor.
So for the record, Madam Chair, if you could speak to what that might look like.
Sure. It includes a bi-weekly or weekly meeting to understand the work that they are doing. And I sent a full email if you all can reference that, but I'll just for the sake of those that don't have for those that are watching, we're asking that you meet with them at least weekly or bi-weekly, get an understanding of their work, provide the support, and then report back at these business meetings the work that is happening and the engagement that is happening with the consultants. And so it probably is a 2-hour commitment, either bi-weekly or weekly, depending on your time.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I meant to respond. You and I had a brief discussion about this, and I did not clarify, but yes, I am able to support with the General Counsel Liaison role.
Thank you, Commissioner Favors. I thank you, Commissioner, for doing that. And so I have Commissioner Daniel Favors acting as a liaison to the General Counsel. Now we also need a commissioner to serve as the liaison to the economist and to the education coordinator.
So the economist one, it looks like obvious that I might be the person. I have a concern on, and I just wonder, would it be inappropriate or could it be appropriate that I get staffed in this endeavor with my own staff, that I provide staff to help me with this? I wouldn't be able, I might not personally be able to give the 2 hours every 2 weeks, but I can, in coordination with staff, be able to ensure that the sentiments are both shared, expressed, and dealt with.
What would you review the work at some point?
Yes.
Okay.
I will hope to review all of it, to be honest.
And then you'll be able to come back to these meetings and report back on the work that's happening with the economists.
Yeah, that'd be a goal. But would it be okay again, like I said, if I staffed it? Just want to offer clarity.
If you staffed it, but you would just be able to come back here because we couldn't have this. Well, we can have the staff provide you a written report, whether you read it or not, but at least you would be the one reporting back to the commission on the work of the economist.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Should I look at it one last time before I commit? But I'm happy.
Let's get you to commit. Let's get you to commit.
So if I may, I appreciate that sentiment, right?
Yes.
Because we are all very extremely
Absolutely
active, I'll say, right? And so if you have access to staff that can diligently provide that support for you, and you have that understanding and you are responsible for yet saying, yep, they're wherever we are with that, then I appreciate that. I mean, I utilize my executive secretary my executive assistant to do stuff and to help prepare and do some things. So I don't see it as much different from that, because I would appreciate and respect your thought process and picking the right staff to be able to do this. And so, me personally, I'm good with it.
Yeah, Commissioner, I just want to be clear. I have no issue with it. I just want to make sure that when we come back to these meetings, that you can, excuse me, report back to the commission on the work that's happening with the economists.
Yes.
Yeah,
So whether it's your staff providing you that update.
I need some.
I love that smile, man. I love that smile.
I heard a yes. I think I heard.
If you do that, I'll take the public education subcommittee if you do that.
Oh.
All right. Dr. Daniels, you want to say something?
Yeah, I have some concerns, Ashley, about this.
Okay.
First of all, I can't commit to reporting every 2 weeks. My cup runneth way over. So I am, and then the question to me becomes, operationally, I'd be interested in how this works. I mean, we have an executive director, we have staff that's supposed to be doing this work. I don't want to become the staff for the commission. I want to function as a commissioner. Now, if there's some periodic review, I think as Commissioner Hamilton has said, we want to take a look at some point. Really, when it comes down to reports, I'm going to be in a position to review all of it. But I don't want to be in a position of having to be the liaison with a particular consultant, because it seems to me that is the role that the executive director should be doing, and then actually reporting back to us. And where there's a need for, would you take a look at something? That's the way I would be seeing that.
So
But-
let me offer some guidance, So I appreciate that. And so we're not asking you to act as staff. We're asking that you provide that. One of the pieces of the commission is that we provide the oversight to the executive director on the work of the commission. The executive director acts on behalf of the commission. And so we are all experts in our own right in specific areas. And so having that oversight or providing the direction on behalf of your skill set, your level of expertise is going to be important for the work of the commission. And so just having an example of Dr. Hamilton being one of the world's most renowned economists, having his expertise to work with the economist consultant is going to be critical, because he's going to give feedback on behalf of the commission. He's here, he understands the direction that we're going in. His insight is critical. And the executive director might not necessarily have that, or they're going to liaise with all of the groups, all of the consultants, and make sure that we have a report, but they are working on behalf of us. So it's going to be critical that we provide that insight to those consultants. So I want to be clear, I'm not asking you to act as staff in any way, but your expertise, your communication, your guidance is going to be critical. And so one of the things I want to share with just the example of the policy analyst work and the communication, Linda Tarrant-Reed and Dr. Jenkins are not writing work, but they're providing that guidance and making sure that they're following their directions. One of the things that we learned is that consultants can quickly go in the direction that they believe is best. And we need to make sure that the commission provides those guide rails for those consultants.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to add is each of these areas of expertise are the areas that we need to delineate in the final report. So the work that and the coordination you're doing with the economists and with whomever else, with the legal team, all of that connectivity is going to feed into the final report.
Well, I understand that.
So-
Well, but
Yeah,
that's why it's important.
I'm clear.
That's why
I'm grateful for Dr. Daniels' interjection, because it also offered a great deal of clarity for me and some of my concerns of and apprehensions. I guess what I do understand that could be useful is we have developed expertise, each and every one of us, and some of us more particular expertise, to which we would want to inform the experts that are doing this work. So I can most certainly avail myself and make it the responsibility of the entity that they have to connect with me,
right.
to make sure that I give the insights. But the actual gathering and reporting of information, that of which might be done by an operations entity as opposed to the analyzing of it or providing insights for it, if we could make clear that, whoever, whether it's the consultant that we hire or somebody who is informed by the consultant that we have, with that clarity, and I'm long-winded, I'm sorry, I'll put a button on it. I can ensure that I'm available to that subcommittee. I can, and would hope I can be available to some other ones. Like I very much would want to have some insights into the policy subcommittee, but that they provide the reports back to the commission.
And I appreciate that, Dr. Hamilton, and each subcommittee, just because you're not serving on that subcommittee, we still will ask for your area of expertise or ask for your guidance, your insight. Certainly you all will be available to do that when called upon, but I appreciate everyone's willingness to serve in this capacity. I mean, we were selected because of our expertise. And so tapping into that is going to be most critical for us providing the best and most comprehensive report.
Correct.
Yeah, so let me just say what I'm able to do. So I am able to respond. I cannot respond to every week, every 2 weeks. I cannot. I don't have that capacity given the vast commitments that I have at various level. But I am available upon request. If there's something that someone wants me to look at or because they feel I have some expertise in it or whatever, then I'm willing to respond. But I am not, because I believe in being honest and accountable, and I don't want to fail. And so therefore, yeah, and I'm intensely interested in it. I have lifelong commitment in this area, and I will confess to having some expertise in it, in many aspects of it. But I'm not able to make a commitment to a weekly or bi-weekly meeting.
So it sounds like you want to do public education.
It sounds like I'm wanting to be a at-large representative in terms of being able to be consulted as needed. That's what I'm.
No, and what I was going to offer is if you could be that expert go-to when needed in public, in the education portion of it, I'll do the weekly or bi-weekly stuff.
Just for clarification, Dr. Daniels is supporting the research historian efforts.
Oh, okay.
Already and policy. So.
And so when she called upon me, I said, I'm reporting for duty. That's all I heard. She said, show up, and I showed up.
And he has showed up. Wait, I didn't finish. He has showed up and showed out.
What I'm hearing you say, Dr. Daniels, is that I won't commit to being the liaison, but if called upon and available, I'm happy to show up.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And Timothy, I mean, Commissioner Holmes,
Timothy is fine.
Okay. I would love to support you on the public education piece as well.
Awesome.
Great.
And
covered.
Chair, might I add that there have been 3 commissioners throughout the process who have been working in subcommittee, and that is to develop our themes and to gather our experts. And we've gotten it down to a science now where we are not jumping on Zooms anymore necessarily, but we are communicating back and forth in emails. So that helps a little bit. Yes. You know, you determine the time. Your assistant has already sent out your availability. They need to work with you, Dr. Hamilton, just to give him a little extra push because we need that expertise in that area. But no, I'm happy to support you on that committee. And we continue to do our work, even though we're all uber busy with the expert subcommittee.
Yeah, I'm reticent to take on something for which I won't fulfill. What if we were to merge some of these committees and I more actively, with the encouragement and admonishment from leadership, to engage a great deal more in them. But the responsibility of being the liaison with the expectations, I'm a little reticent to take on, given.
But are you still willing to have your staff participate? Or are you saying you're going to commit at a time that works for you? Is that what you're saying? And then maybe you won't be the liaison, but I want to share that, I was on the evaluation team for the economists, and certainly economists are eager to work with you and get your feedback on the work and the direction of this report for the commission.
And I will certainly do that. Yep, I can definitely do that. Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't want to be called liaison.
I don't. You're setting me and the commission up for failure. That's about it. Thank you.
So with that, we still need someone to serve and work with the economists. And so I think we'll have to figure that out and the direction, and maybe something you and I can do this offline, Commissioner Hamilton, and just find some workaround, because it's really important that we make sure that we're on the right track. And so I'll certainly work in partnership with you to make sure that we can do something that works best for your schedule and best for the commission.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the flexibility we need.
Yes.
Actually, it's just not mechanical. If you're flexible, it'll get done. But this,
So the
rigidity of it is we need to be flexible, and it'll work. We call on people as needed here and there and so forth. We do have a staff. obviously we all want to monitor, as you said before, I'm interested in history. I'm interested in a whole lot of this. But as needed, as things are evolving, then, we can be engaged.
So what
Certainly,
do-
we're all busy. I want to just make sure that we
There's busy and then
want to
there's
be
busy.
flexible. Say that again.
I said, there's busy and then there's busy. So we don't want to get into the busy thing.
Well, some of us are already there. Just want to be clear. But also want to make sure that we provide some just some guide rails on what we have to do. Because right now we don't have an executive director. We're in the process of hiring an executive director and the work has to continue. And so we will call upon folks to help and it may get less busy. I think Dr. Jenkins already shared that once we get into a cadence and we hire our executive director. But I just want to remind folks that we do not have an executive director right now. We're in the process of hiring one. Any further discussion here?
Nope.
With none said, we will move to the other business of the commission before we get into timelines. Is there any other business that the commission wants to introduce? So I went back to the first page, just so you know, under executive committee updates, I'm at section D.
So there isn't any new items, but I do want to take the time to appreciate the executive committee and those that have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep this commission moving. I got to participate in evaluating some responses to an RFP. And so I appreciate the work that has been going into it and the work that continues to allow us to move forward. So for all those that have been working a bunch behind the scenes, I just wanted to say thank you.
I second that sentiment.
We certainly appreciate that. Thank you. It is an honor for us to do this work, and I hope you all get the honor of serving on the evaluation team.
Jokes.
Yes.
Madam Chair, if we could, I just needed to, the reason I abstained from our earlier vote on adopting the video conferencing resolution was because I just needed some clarity and needed to review some of the language that I just wasn't sure on. And so if I could, for the purposes of clarity, it feels as though, and this may just be an error in my interpretation, so this is a question, not a statement. Extraordinary circumstances aren't usually scheduled. And so I notice in section 3 of the provision that if you wish to be, because you cannot be present at a hearing, there has to be a notice to the commission no later than 4 business days. I was not clear as to what, if you wanted to participate in the hearing via video conference because you could not be present. I was not clear on how extraordinary circumstances are handled in that situation in the case that your extraordinary circumstance happens the day before. And I abstained because I was not certain. I just wondered if we could get clarity on that for the record.
No, I appreciate that, Commissioner Daniel Favors. And so one of the things that, of course, if you can't make a meeting, you can't make a meeting. But we had an instance where Commissioner couldn't make the meeting and we wanted to provide them a Zoom link, and you have to have notice. And I'll ask our parliamentarian to provide that clarification. And it needs to be, I don't know how many days notice we have to say that a commissioner is going to join via Zoom. So there's some circumstances around that. So I apologize if it's not clarity. If there are extraordinary circumstances, then certainly we understand if you can't attend, but if you want to participate by another means of video conferences, then you have to provide notice that we're going to have the video conferences in a location. So let me stop and make room for our parliamentarian to make that clarification.
You could have a commissioner participate by way of a Zoom meeting, but that person could not be a voting person unless you did what we're doing today. Unless you had it set up so that people could hear the discussion and be a part of the, you know what I'm saying? You have to be set up like we've got the video set up, we've got the connection set up.
And the public has to be able
The
to
public has
attend
to-
wherever you are.
Exactly, right. So you have to have 5 people. And we got 6, I think.
Mhm.
So we've met that criteria. We have a bifurcated space, but we met that criteria of at least 5 people being in the meeting, participating, with the public being available, being also able to participate. So that in a circumstance where someone can't be at a meeting, but does not impact the quorum issue, they could participate offline in a sense.
So the reason I needed a bit of clarity was because of section 4, which states if there is a quorum of members participating at a physical location open to the public, and I'm reading from the New York State procedures for members video conferencing pursuant to public officers law, section 103-A. If there is a quorum of members participating at a physical location that's open to the public, as we are here, a member who is participating from a remote location that is not open to in-person physical attendance by the public shall not count towards a quorum, but may participate and vote if there is a quorum of members at physical locations. So for example, we here constitute a quorum.
Right.
So if there were a commissioner who were not able to be physically present, because we have met the physical quorum component, that commissioner should still be able to vote and participate. Am I understanding that correctly, or is there something?
Yeah.
That's what it reads here. And so we will act accordingly going forward now that we have adopted that.
Now, and just further, because things happen, winter is coming, despite climate change, we know weather and all of these sorts of things can happen. I just want to make sure that I'm clear, and my understanding is that if we had a setup such as this, let's say, for example, let's pretend Commissioner Jones-Austin was here and not myself. If I am elsewhere and I can connect remotely, I would still be able to vote and participate in the hearing so long as the quorum is met within a physical
Yes.
space like this one.
Yes.
But we would still need notice because we would have to set up accommodations with our video conferencing team to make sure that you have the Zoom link, you can get in and all those things.
Now, that makes sense for things that are planned and
Yeah.
intentioned.
Yeah.
My question is what happens in the case of extraordinary circumstances?
So we would have to, so that I need to confirm with our audio team to make sure that if there were a circumstance where you just couldn't make it, maybe you were in traffic and it was going to be 2 hours and you still wanted to participate, could they quickly just send you a link and have you join? That we would have to come back and get further clarification on.
Or a telephone number, because if you're driving, right, you're not going to be able to go into a Zoom. Just a means of getting the vote in. I think, is that what you're asking?
That's really my concern. And just to be
So
able
I
to
think
specifically
4.
contribute to the conversation.
I think 4 speaks to that. The one that you just read, I think 4 speaks.
No, it does. It's just that logistically, can we make that happen? If she made the call, it was a circumstance where she had an emergency. Logistically, are we set up to do that? Today, we are not. So that is something that we would have to make happen so that we could have either a number or and I don't know if you physically have to have your face shown. I remember that being something that your face physically had to be on screen. So we need to just find that out. So can we take that as a point to bring back and make some clarification on if logistically we can set ourselves up to do that?
Thank you. I would appreciate it. And then further, I just wanted to speak because as I am often want to do, I know that we have a robust community levels of interest in the work that we're doing. I just wanted to confirm for the record that our previous conversation, which was designed around, which was centering the idea of when we would take testimony. The idea, as I understand it, I just want to clarify for the record, because I know our community, while we're not many here, there are people who are watching, listening to this hearing. The idea on allowing people who have not previously spoken at hearings to speak first is in no way going to be used to stop anyone who has previously spoken from also being able to speak. Is that correct? I just want to make sure.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, because there are some misinterpretations already being circulated on the social media spaces. So I just want to make sure that we are clear. So the priority for people who have not spoken is simply one that would ensure that we would have a full panoply of voices, and the hearing would allow for everyone to speak, but we would want to prioritize first the people who have not yet spoken. And our phenomenal community members who have spoken at previous sessions would also be be able to speak,
Right.
but we would defer out of respect for all the voices of the community that perhaps can't travel and follow us and go to all the hearings, ensure that those voices that have not been heard would be able to be heard. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. And that is something that we've continue to do. We've made space for everyone to have an opportunity to speak. We're just prioritizing new voices.
Thank you.
And
Put it
yeah, that was my understanding as well. However, these other people who we're going to prioritize, they need to be there. They need to be in the
Right,
space.
you late.
Because we're not going to just make the people who you might be tired of seeing. I'm not. I love the fact that we have these people who are traveling all over this city with us and stay.
Mhm.
We're not going to just make them wait
No.
until people decide, I want to go because they're going to prioritize me. They need to be there to sign up.
I think that's perfectly
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
We hope you will sign up on October 28th for our public hearing at Bethany Baptist Church in Brooklyn at 460 Marcus Garvey. That's our commercial. Please be there. It was from 4 to 8.
I did have, go ahead.
I had one thing. I think it's really important for us to really promote the theme of these public hearings so that we do get the type of conversation that we aim to collect. And if we, put that out there, that this is the theme, this is what we'd like you to stick to, maybe that could curate some of the extended discussion.
I love that. But again, I am not going to police what people say. I just don't feel like that's our role.
I don't think we're talking about
I think that
policing.
No. Well, I might be using a strong term here, but if they don't stick to the theme, because people are passionate about whatever they're bringing, right? I want them to be connected to our theme. But if they take like a minute to talk about something other than our theme, I think that's okay.
Be clear, we do not have the Apollo hook.
Well, and if we could, we wouldn't be able to use it anyway.
Well, yeah, because I also united with that expression too, but I do think the ability to emphasize, because in a way, as we went through, we did sort of look at our subcommittees, certain themes that might be,
Right.
so that if I recall correctly, and it's sometimes difficult today, is gentrification, I think is the
Right.
theme. And, we were just having a sign, man, we don't, what's left of Brooklyn? I mean, yeah, so we going to Brooklyn
And that's
because the theme of replacing Black people and Black culture is a key issue everywhere, but a lot of people in Brooklyn are talking about that.
right.
So we're talking about gentrification, show up. That's what
Yeah.
Jenkins
No,
is
you're
saying.
right.
Show up and show
Yeah.
out and express and what your feelings are about that.
And
But
be clear.
people can then talk about other things, and they may talk about criminal justice or whatever,
Right.
or just whatever, it's fine. And others, but those themes do become important because then people who feel a certain way,
They have a
please
space.
and I think they will, because even on that rainy day, we had
Right.
people were showing up. It's just that we got rained out. But that's an important point, I think.
But to be clear, the press release says that very pointedly, that this is the theme.
Okay.
We want you to
Not
talk
everybody
about
gets
it.
the press release.
Well, that is how we manage the themes. You have the press release and you have supporting material at the desk of the event.
The only challenge I would consider is that if you are, perhaps the theme is gentrification here, but you try to show up at a previous session and testify on a different theme, we wouldn't be able to say you can't testify to
right.
things that
Oh,
are
yeah,
not
no,
related to the
yeah,
theme.
yeah,
We would
yeah.
just strongly encourage
Yeah, no, we're
that you,
saying
as
that.
much as you
Yeah,
can,
say whatever.
speak
we're
to the
saying
theme.
that. That's what
We're
we're
saying
saying.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely.
Any further discussion here?
Yes, I just wanted to go back to security, like the security that is in this building, is that the building security or is that ours? And even though, we'll be in a sacred space next Tuesday, what is our protection beyond the security of the church?
So we have a security company. We will have a security company at every meeting. And so the security that's there at your site in New York City is our security. The security that's here in Rochester is our security.
That's wonderful.
Awesome, thank you.
And they are securing us. They
They
made me
are.
empty all my pocket contents and everything.
God bless.
So we appreciate you all. Any further discussion before we move on to timeline and updates, other updates? Okay, let's move on to the timeline. Because one of the things that we need to discuss, and you've seen the email that we shared, but we needed to discuss our timeline. As Commissioner Linda Tarrant-Reed already shared, that the commission must provide our report to the governor and legislative body by January of 2027. And so with that said, we need to have a timeline of how we expect to do our work. And no, I don't expect us to have the timeline established today, but I do want us to have some conversation about what that could look like. One of the things that I shared is that after the commission submits the report, we have 90 days to disband. And so when will we provide opportunity for the community to understand the report and champion the recommendations to the legislative body? Because I hope that we all agree that we don't want our report to sit on the shelf, that we want to see those recommendations be actualized and put into policy. And so it's going to take some coalition building, some community engagement to make sure that that could happen. And so we need to have a schedule, a timeline that includes time for the community to understand the report and the work of the commission and the recommendations that we are submitting to the community. And so we need to have some timeline that's going to allow us to do that. And it could be during that period of disbandment that our education team could help provide that education. But we have about 12 to 15 months to get our report done. And remember, once it's done, it has to go to a body to get it finalized, photos, all those things. And so we need to be able to work backwards here. And so I submitted to you all the email that's from 5:22, that at 5:22 p.m. has a updated timeline that we can discuss. And I think it is in the PowerPoint. Maybe if you can go to the next power slide. Is there? No, go backwards. We didn't put that in there. No, okay. But you all have it in front of you. Do you all have the email from 5:22 p.m.?
Yeah, look up.
It's here. You can put this at the bottom.
Okay. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. I
You
see it.
see it? And it says quick updates in October 24th business meeting. And so there could be a draft report. And I know Linda talked about a draft report in October, but I submit to you all that that is way too late for us to, because we need to have a period for us to review. The commissioners need to review the report and provide feedback, updates, make sure that we are all in agreement. We'll have to accept the report, right? We all would have to accept the report, and that we learned just how long it took us to accept the framework. And so a report is going to take us some time. And so we need to work on what a draft timeline will look like. So I'm going to pause and make room for questions.
So I do want to add a question so we have a point of clarification. So when we talk about a draft report or the final report, and I apologize for not, if I don't recall and I saw it. So is it a unanimous? Does it have to be a unanimous?
We have to have 5 votes.
Or is it the majority?
Majority, 5 votes to accept the report.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm thinking about the process we just come out of in the selection process for the economist. And I think you posed a question in terms of timeline. And then the state is also saying that if all goes well, they should be fully on board, say January. That's not going to give them enough wiggle room to get all of their work done so that we can have a draft by May, I don't think.
We're not going to have a draft by May. That's really ambitious. And when you say draft, I'm talking about like a final draft, which, might be conflated with final report. A draft is a draft to be reviewed by
the commission.
By the commission and whomever else has to review it. And we have to have very strict timelines and deadlines on that. So I'm thinking September. You have complete all revisions. We might be saying the same thing.
I am. And so I just think that this is for discussion. This is not permanent. This is just a framework for us to work through. But when I'm thinking of complete or revision, that means commissioner feedback as well. Because we don't have time between September and December to get that report delivered in time. So we need to take the time to review that report. So Linda Tarrant Reed, I'm Commissioner Reed, I'm interested in when you think, and I know we don't have our executive director, and we're making some guesstimates here. But I believe that we have to have that, it has to be in a final stage, meaning that our commissioners would have taken a look at it, provided the feedback, and now we're ready to either take it for vote or we've gone for vote. But though we should be there by September of 2026.
I agree with that.
Okay, yeah.
I agree with that.
So it's just wording.
Yes, it's
How
just
we
wording.
get there, commissioner review, we should, it should be July to August. You can't give people a very long, period of time to review. I mean, it has to be concentrated.
So the reason why I made 2 months is just because we understand that it's taking us a lot of time to provide feedback between us. And so we've got to either commit to, and we all just talked about how busy we all are. And so I'm trying to get realistic timeframes from what I've just seen of how we've been working as a commission, that it's taking us about 2 months just to provide feedback between us.
And I appreciate that too, Chair. I'm just concerned because a lot of what we're going to do in terms of the heavy lift, and the heavy lift that no one is speaking about right now is still, we have to iron out our ideas, and they're going to inform some of the work that our consultants are doing. And so I'm fine with May for us, but not putting the economists. I'm only thinking about them and the work that we want them to do in such a fashion that it will ensure that they have had enough time to collect all the data and move between the different subcommittees or the different contracts, chiefly historian research and policy, to make sure that nothing is omitted and they're not feeling under the weight of the time frame to get something to us that may not be their complete and their best work.
What about with this timeline, if we were expecting to get draft reports in May and that the commissioner review has the expectation of iteration? So in other words, it's likely we are going to iterate. There'll be, and that will give the space for some maneuverability, but we start the review process by June. The draft reports start to emerge by May, and that some of the stuff can be iterative. So the final economic report might not be done, but there's at least some initial parts that are done by which they can start to receive feedback.
Yeah, let me, because I think sort of uniting with both perspectives, but with Reverend Jenkins sort of kicking it off. See, a part of what we have to think about is, now and a certain date in terms of how many more hearings are there? How does that fit in? How many, and maybe that's already done and I may have missed it, but how many more hearings thematically are we going to have? That's one part of it. The other thing I'm concerned about is, it seems to me there needs to be some refereeing or some way in which the different component parts are sitting around the table with some oversight, putting some pieces together. And then there is a draft, because at the end of the day, the final report, it seems to me, is going to reflect debate and discussion among the commissioners as to what we see as there's sort of like, there's a narrative and then there's a recommendation stage, and the recommendation stage in some ways is
the end.
So I'm just saying that there's,
and you're right, Dr. Daniels, that's why it's important for people to really be part of the process as liaisons, because all of that information will feed into the final report. And those representatives from the commission will sit around the table and talk about the various strands and chapters and sections that are compiling the final report. So you're correct.
I would just offer that I think that the recommendations is one of the most important parts. The review of the history and the compilation of all of that, absolutely. But the legislature is going to need a body of recommendations upon which they can vote. Otherwise, this has been a lovely exercise, but it won't produce anything substantive. So those recommendations, I would suggest not be considered the end, but really the central goal that we are supposed to be reaching. I recognize that the time frame being provided is an acknowledgement of the limitations we are working under. But I also am a bit concerned that it takes I think we're gonna have how can I say this lovingly? We're gonna have to, as somebody who often has way too many things happening and can't dedicate the time that I wish I could, I think we, at this point, having been receiving this additional extension, we really do need to be able to commit to a shorter review period, a more intense time frame. We got an 18-month extension. I don't think anybody is trying to do this beyond that because, so I think we're just gonna have to, as my grandmother would say, suck it up, buttercups, and make sure that we are aggressive with the time frame because there's not going to be another extension. The legislature is going to have to vote. The composition of the legislature is something we should be aware of in light of what's happening, because that education period at the end of the release of the report should be one that, at least in my vision, would be empowering community to pressure legislators to take an affirmative vote on the recommendations. That's not to say we're all going to agree on every one of the recommendations, but that education period really, it should be an education and advocacy period. So I would just offer that.
And
So that's what is imagined here at the end, that post-submission community engagement. That's that advocacy that I just called it championing the recommendations for the commission. So you'll see that in January and March. And if that should start sooner, then we certainly should do that with the support of our education coordinators.
I just want to be clear that the recommendations are driven by the research and the report.
Yes.
So when I say that the recommendations come last, it's after, going through the process of, defining, researching, putting the information together in a comprehensive document that is really the case for reparations.
Thank you.
So that's what we're building.
Yes,
understood. So all of that history, all of that data, all of the testimony has to be woven together into one document with recommendations.
Thank you for that.
So first of all, any more discussion on this? So the timeline that we just shared, any other changes? We said that we would change the commission review from July to August. Is that what I heard? I just want to be clear. We all are comfortable. Is that yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're comfortable with draft report in May 26, July through August, the commission engagement, internal review, September submission, and then that report getting delivered in December so that we can begin to do that work in January through March of that post-engagement advocacy work.
I prefer
I'm sorry,
June for the draft.
Right, I was like, what's happening in June?
Yeah.
We left June alone.
Yeah, we took it out of the commissioner review, and I thought
and
that I said, and I thought that Dr. Daniel said June for the draft, just to give enough time. Yeah.
Right.
June. Okay, so it's June and then July. So nothing else changes, but the draft report is June, and it's July through August for commissioner engagement review, September final revisions, right?
September.
We're quiet.
And this is just a draft.
Yes.
Yes.
Until we really start getting to work on this, people are not going to hear too.
But I think it's important for us to have something to guide us and to create that pace and cadence.
Yep.
So do we want to accept this as our work plan?
Yeah, as a draft work plan.
I think you have to put draft in front of it.
Yeah, draft.
Yeah, draft work plan.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
I'll make a motion to accept this as our draft work plan with the changes that were made.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion about accepting this as our draft work plan? With the change of the draft report being in June of 26,
And the review is July.
and review being July and August. Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, I have no questions. Well, that's not true. My apologies. Just for the record, and so the public is clear, can we just state what is going to be happening between now and May of 26, so that the public is clear that there is active work happening? And when they review these notes, they should not be confused to believe that we're going on vacation until May. There is active work happening. If you could just please, for the record, so that we're clear and our audience, which is watching, will have an understanding that is in alignment with the reality.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniel Favors. I think that's really important. So I want to remind that earlier we discussed the work of all of the consultants that we've been working with. So right now, our consultants that are already engaged are actively working. And so that's the research historian, the policy analyst. We're in the process of hiring our economist, the general counsel, education coordinator. All of those consultants, in addition to our communications team and our executive director, are going to be working to put together this comprehensive report that we expect to have drafted for us by June of 2026. So we will all, and the commissioners will be acting as liaisons and sharing within the subcommittees and working alongside these consultants. So I want to be clear that there is much work to get us there so that we can have a draft in June of 2026.
We also have business.
Excuse me,
In addition, we will still have, thank you for that reminder, Commissioner, we will still have public hearings. We have one scheduled for Utica, New York. So we're looking forward to coming to Utica, New York, and the executive committee is working alongside the communications team to put together a schedule and the staff to put together a public hearing schedule. And we'll have more business meetings as well so that we can continue to report out just like we're doing today.
I think Commissioner Daniels' question is, what are we doing now? Is that what Daniel said?
That would also be helpful, I think, to clarify as well what is happening now. We know that we're part of that work includes the hiring of the consultants, right, which for the public, you should know, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get the consultants hired, which is why the very first hearing, several of us on the record said that this was not necessarily structured for success because that work had not been done prior to us being commissioned. So public should know we are actively hiring. It requires multiple interviews, multiple meetings. There is an involved process. So they
RFP, RFQ, that takes time. There's 30 to 40 days to just even respond to the RFQ. It takes lots of time to get a consultant hired. So thank you for highlighting that because that's critical.
But I think the question was, what is being done toward creating this report? We
just reported that out too. And so that was part of our updates that the commissioners provided. You provided a report, Linda Tarrant-Reed. Deborah Jenkins talked about the work she's doing with the policy analyst. I've talked about the work that the staff are doing. And so certainly we can document here, and we will continue to document here in these business meetings, the work that we're doing, leading us up to that draft.
Thank you.
So I want to go back because we have a motion on the floor to accept this as our draft timeline. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Take the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion unanimously passes. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
So with that said, I want to see if there's any other business before we prepare to adjourn. With that said, it sounds like there is no other business. So I want to thank you all for joining. We have participants here in Rochester. Thank you for coming out and learning more about the work of the business. We know that the business meetings aren't always as exciting as a public hearing, but we thank you for being here. And I'll stop and make room for us to acknowledge if you have participants in New York City.
We do.
Thank you.
Now I feel that bad that we didn't give our participants a hand. Thank you. With that said, I want to thank you all commissioners for your commitment to this work. Just want to remind the community that we are not paid. You talked about the work. We talked about the work that we are doing. None of us receive a dime, a sponsorship, or anything related to that. We are doing this work because we are honored to do this work and we're committed to doing this work. So I want to thank you all, commissioners. It is my honor to partner with you all. And I look forward to seeing you all next week in my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. So yes, I'm excited. We're coming back to Brooklyn, so we'll see you on October 28th. And with that said, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good meeting y'all.